my parents for funding this endeavor and being patient with my noise until it sounds good. I'd like to thank Miss Bunjer for teaching me for most of my piano lessons, 10 out of the 11 years I've played. And then I'd also like to thank Northbrook Church for letting me host here. So here's how it's going to work. I've picked out 9 pieces that are either my favorite, or they mean something to me, or they were important in my piano journey. And I've gotten a little blurb I've written about each one that I'll say before I play one. All right, so the first piece is Romance by Sibelius. And this is familiar to a few here maybe. I've played it at a number of Miss Bunjer's recitals before. I chose this piece to be first because it's essentially everything I like to play in a piece. It's very melodic and essentially the quintessential piece from the Romantic era of piano composition. There's lots of room for creative license and expression, which is one of my favorite things to do on the piano. The Romantic era is my favorite time period of music to play from because the composition style affords the pianist a lot of room to interpret the piece and express how they think it should sound. So as you listen to this piece, listen for Sibelius' skill in balancing the delicate main theme and its heavy dissonant sections that he weaves together to create the romance. Please enjoy. Oh, I forgot to mention, after I see each little blurb, I'd ask that you don't clap so I can be ready to play the piece whenever. You are free to clap as soon as I take my hands off the keys, however. Thank you. the exact opposite of the piece I just played. This is because it's from the Baroque era, which was very structured in both its composition, style, and interpretation. This results in compositions that tend to be more technically demanding than the Romantic era, and I personally find them less fun to play. However, I love this piece because Bach has written so many very interesting, technically, just very impressive bits into this that you can't really see without the sheet music, which is unfortunate, but it's still very interesting to listen to. The piece may be written in A minor, but Bach fluidly and routinely flips from A minor to C major to G major to D major, throws an E minor for the fun of it, and ends up back in A minor just in time to end the piece in 2 pages. Now this all sounds complicated, and it is. No wonder it is one of his most well-known inventions. So please, enjoy Johann Bach's Invention No. 13 in A minor. Than the other one. This next piece is Scherzo in B minor by Helen Boykin. We've hit the Romantic era, the Baroque era, and now we're going to try the Contemporary era. The Contemporary era has all the interpretation of the eras before it, but even less rules. Miss Boykin truly embraced the character of this era in her piece by using dissonant chords and wildly varying structures to put together a composition that both confuses and makes sense to the listener. Now, my favorite piece of this work comes about halfway through. Boykin wrote an entire section of this piece based on the chromatic scale, making it both very difficult and very entertaining to play. The best part about it is the fact that it comes right after the main theme, throwing the listener into another swirl of confusion. So, as best you can, please enjoy Helen Boykin's Scherzo in B minor. by Jacques Ibert, and it's one of my favorites in the whole thing. Mom has told me, or told some people, that I'll be telling jokes at this recital. While I can't promise that, however, I can offer this comedic little piece. Jacques Ibert uses a term called automatopoeia as he writes this composition. That means he uses the sounds of the piano to imitate sounds in real life. Le Petit en Blanc translates to the little white donkey, and Ibert uses dissonant chords to imitate the braying of the donkey. Not only that, but he uses a spunky little left hand to make you think of a little baby donkey, and it's a very cute piece. I love it. This all comes together to create a highly underrated piece of contemporary music. So please enjoy Le Petit en Blanc by Jacques Ibert. Chopin's Valse, Brillant. And I kind of consider this to be the capstone of my musical journey so far. It's the hardest piece I've ever learned, the longest piece I've ever learned, and my favorite. Now, it's 10 pages, not played with any repeats, and 5 minutes long. It's also taken me about a year to bring it to perfection. It was my COVID project. While I was stuck at home, I decided to learn a piece of music, and this is the one I chose. Because it's so long, I haven't memorized the whole thing, so I'm going to ask Miss Bunjer if she would come and turn my pages for me. Thank you. And yeah, so please enjoy this last piece in the first intermission, Chopin's Valse, Brillant. 4:47 and 4:40. Bathrooms are just down the hall. You're welcome to stay in your seats or walk around. Yeah, we're just gonna have about a 5-minute intermission. well as good as we're going to get. Okay. All right. If we could have a seat. I'm not good at getting people's attention. All right, so I've got 4 songs left, and the first of those 4 in this intermission is the Charlie Brown Christmas Medley, which is a bunch of different Vince Guaraldi's Charlie Brown Christmas songs that Ben and I arranged into a single jazz duet. It started overseas when we had first moved into our apartment and had unpacked the piano. We didn't have a piano teacher. I didn't have any new music I was learning, so I was pretty bored. So I started taking the music we did have and putting it together, and out of that came this Charlie Brown Christmas Medley. And I started it as a duet, so I called Ben over. I think he was just handy, and I was like, Ben, come learn this second part so I can see how it sounds all together. And I swear, he has jazz in his blood because it sounded amazing as soon as he started picking it up. And there's a section in the middle. It's almost like a jazz solo section, kind of, except it's a duet. But Ben has this chromatic scale that he actually arranged and composed himself, and it just sparkles. It sounds amazing. So, with that, please enjoy the Charlie Brown Christmas music arranged by Ben and I. So this next, excuse me, this next piece is The Entertainer by Scott Joplin. This is an iconic piece of contemporary ragtime music, known to many of us as the ice cream truck song. This was an important piece of my piano history, and while I can't explain why ice cream trucks latched onto this song so dearly, I can explain why I did. So the first piano solo I can distinctly remember being very proud of was an arrangement of Scott Joplin's Entertainer for like beginner pianists. And I played that for years after I learned it because I thought it was so cool and I loved playing it. So as soon as I got the chance to play the real thing, I did. And I memorized it and prepared it for y'all. So please enjoy Scott Joplin's Entertainer. going to be playing Waltz number 1 and 2 by Brahms. These are two of the hardest pieces I've ever had to perform. And this is because the exacting rhythm and the outrageously large chords and my comparatively small hands make it a difficult piece to play. The first piece is very loud and proud to fill up any room you perform it in, which makes it very entertaining to listen to. The second piece is completely different. It is quiet, melodic, and much slower than the first piece. By playing them back to back, it gives you a very good sense of the contrast between each of these pieces. So, with that, here are Johannes Brahms' Waltzes number 1 and 2. Godard's second Mazurka in B major. And this piece I also started learning while I was overseas, and it's definitely one of my top favorite pieces I've ever played. There's no specific reason for that, other than it was composed in my favorite musical time period, the Romantic era. I first learned it overseas from Mrs. Nancy Waterlow, who actually taught me piano while I was overseas, and I continued learning it under Mrs. Bunjer. From the first time I heard it, I was captivated by its many themes and sections that Godard composed, and later learned how much fun it is to play. Now, I won't spoil too much of it for you, other than to say, sit back, relax, and enjoy this last piece, Godard's second Mazurka in D major.